Hello, welcome to another episode of Subro Sessions. My name is Lian Skaf, and I'm a partner in the Subrogation Department at White and Williams. This is our second in a series of episodes called Getting to Know Subro, in which we will meet the talented subrogation attorneys in our group who you have come accustomed to listening to and oftentimes working with. Once again, I'll be your humble host through this subseries. In my former life, before becoming a subrogation attorney myself, I was a newspaper reporter. So I'll be doing my best to summons all of my previous interviewing skills as I lead everyone on this journey of acquaintance. I am pleased to introduce our second guest in the Getting to Know Subro series, Katherine Dempsey. Katherine has been an attorney at White and Williams for about 2.5 years here. So, hi, Katherine, and welcome.
Hi, Leon. Thanks for having me.
Of course, of course. You're our second here after our new fearless leader. So, how does it feel to be on the personal side of the pod?
It's exciting. I'm excited we're doing this, and I think it's a great way for the clients to get to know us a little bit better and just other people in the industry. So, great idea, Leon.
Yes, great. All right. So, tell me a little bit about yourself in general, Catherine. Where are you from? How old are you? Give us the Catherine origin story.
The origin story. Okay. So, I am 28 years old, full disclosure. Graduated Bucknell University in 2019 and went straight to law school at Widener University's Delaware Law School in Wilmington, Delaware. Grew up outside of the Philadelphia suburbs in Berwyn, PA. And fun fact, I'm the first lawyer in my family.
You know what? I think I am too. My family is all medical people, doctors, nurses. So it was kind of an oddball thing to do, I guess. But it's funny in our profession. It seems like people always come from parents or uncles and aunts of lawyers, but you're a fellow newbie.
Fellow newbie, absolutely. So my family was definitely excited when I made that happen. So
Yeah. You're always the first call for help with a will or a speeding ticket or something, right?
always, I say that's not my area. I just do Subro.
I know, I know. So Berwyn, I'm a South Jersey guy, so I don't know the PA suburbs that well. What county is that?
So that is Chester County. If people are familiar with the Philadelphia area, I went to Conestoga High School. We're about probably 15, 20 minutes from Villanova University and maybe a little bit closer to Malvern, Paoli, Devon, that area. Our other claim to fame is the Devon Horse Show. So grew up right down the street from that. So that was pretty fun.
Oh man, that's real Pennsylvania talk right there. So Conestoga, am I right? Is that a big high school?
Yes. Well, at least I thought it was. We had about 500 kids per graduating class. And I think they're up to like six, 700 now.
That's pretty big. I mean, how does that compare to Bucknell? Bucknell is a smaller school, isn't it?
Very, very much so. So Bucknell was about, I think it was maybe like a little over 3,600 undergrad students, which I mean, yes, was bigger than my high school, but
Not
you
by
know,
much.
not by much.
I hear you. And you were telling me a little bit about a program you participated in Bucknell called Inside Out. Is that right?
Yes. So that was actually a program that was started at Temple University. And basically, it is the opportunity for students to act as co classmates with people in a different area of life. So, in this instance, we were co classmates with women who are incarcerated at Pennsylvania's maximum security prison for women. So, being in Lewisburg, PA, there's not a ton of attractions nearby, but we were close to Pennsylvania Women's Prison. And so I had a professor who taught positive psychology, and she taught us alongside these women who were incarcerated at the time, many of them serving life sentences. So that was a really unique experience to be able to take a class with them and interact as classmates.
I can imagine. I mean, especially for, someone that young age, it must have had profound effect on you. Did that affect your decision at all to pursue a legal career?
Absolutely. So I wasn't necessarily sure that I wanted to pursue criminal law, which obviously I didn't, but I thought hopefully in some capacity, whether later in life or as pro bono, I would definitely like to get involved in our criminal justice system and at least be able to help people if that was something that I wanted to do. So definitely opened my eyes to the legal system and made me want to be a part of it.
Yeah, and I know from, us talking pro bono has been and is a big part of your career and your passion. Can tell us a little bit about how that started while you're in law school?
Yeah. So when I was in law school during my third year, I joined the Delaware Civil Clinic. Two of my professors were running it, and it was a great opportunity for us to basically receive a temporary license to practice law under the supervision of our professors. So I actually handled a case from start to finish in Delaware's family court. And we were involved with a woman who was experiencing a domestic violence issue. So we actually ended up having a bench trial in front of a family court judge. And I was really able to be hands on with all stages of the investigation with the local police department, witnesses, all of that. So it was a really rewarding experience, but also taught me a lot about being in the courtroom and also doing all the work that leads up to the day that you're in the courtroom.
Right. Wow, that's amazing. And here at White and Williams, I understand you're involved in the Support Center for Child Advocacy. Is that right?
Yes. So that was something I came across during my first year at White and Williams. And I was certainly excited by the opportunity to get involved. And I actually just wrapped up my first case in Philadelphia Family Court about a month ago. We had an adoption that finally went through. So that was very exciting. It took about 2 years to get all that in order, but it was a very rewarding experience. And especially getting to work with a family who lives in the same city that I do. So I couldn't necessarily handle it full time emotionally, but I'm happy to have the opportunity to use my legal skill set in that way when I can.
Yeah, I mean, that's important work, and I'm sure incredibly rewarding for you personally and professionally. Again, we talked about you've been at White and Williams for a little over 2 years, coming up on 3 in the fall. How are you finding subrogation so far? I know you've been involved in some industry events. How's your Subro life progressing now as a toddler Subro attorney?
Yes, very much still a toddler Subro attorney. I love it. I'm really enjoying it. To be honest, I didn't even know what subrogation was when I was in law school. I didn't really know what it was when I applied for the job, but I
Most people don't. Most people don't.
yeah. To familiarize myself, I actually listened to some of the podcast episodes that you guys had, and it really gave me a better understanding of kind of what subrogation is. And I also just really admired all the personalities of everybody in this department on the podcast and just made me feel like I got to know the department before actually joining the department. So I was really, really happy that you guys had gotten that set up because it was a good way to learn about everybody.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with buttering up the host. I love it. And now let's get on to some good stuff here. You're a big foodie and cooking person. When we talked, I told you my limits are kind of chicken parm, so I'm not really that person, but my wife is. So I've been exposed to a lot of foodie culture and TV shows and restaurants and things like that. Tell me a little bit about your, passion for cooking.
So I love to cook. Always enjoyed it growing up, but I really think when I entered law school, I found myself needing some sort of stress relief from all the reading and homework and writing and all of that. So I actually started for people around my age, they'll know what it is, a Finsta. It's basically like a more casual Instagram account rather than your just generic profile. So I made a Finsta cooking Instagram, cooking with Kathy D, which is what my friends call me as a nickname, and just decided to try different recipes, take pictures, post, and share it with friends and family. So it's still something I have today. I'm not quite as active with it, but it's also kind of a cool way to look back and see everything I've made.
All right, before my follow-up question on that, I have to say, I think your reference to people your age may be a shot at me, I'm not sure, but I may be 2 generations removed from you. I think you're Gen Z and I'm barely Gen X, but I think I told you, Catherine, that I said to my almost teenage daughters the other day the word Insta, not even Finsta, and they said, "You sound so old, stop saying that." So Insta is a bridge too far for me, but it sounds like an awesome Instagram. Can you tell me, is there one thing in particular that you really liked cooking or you liked reproducing on the Instagram?
I would say one of my favorite dishes I made, it was a moussaka dish that I had tried at Estia, which is a local Philadelphia restaurant. Highly recommend, excellent Greek food. So I fell in love with moussaka when I had it there and I was like, "You know what? I really want to try to make this." So I found a recipe online, tweaked it a little bit. And so for those of you that don't know, moussaka is like a Greek lasagna. It has eggplant, ground beef, a bechamel sauce. So that was probably one of the proudest dishes I've made that I really enjoyed and was inspired by one of our own Philly restaurants. So,
Yeah, we're gonna go check out that Finsta, and sorry to my daughters for using that word. And speaking of Estia, you're one of our Philly Center City specific residents, right? So any recommendations for our clients or listeners coming out of town to Philly who maybe a good restaurant or a sight to see?
Absolutely. So I would say, first off, if you're here around the holidays, you absolutely have to check out Christmas Village. That happens in Love Park as well as right in front of City Hall. And it's just a really magical time of year where they have tons of different vendors, foods, music, just different activities. That's a really one of my favorite times to be living in the city. And then I would say for like a good summer or fall night, two of my favorite rooftop restaurants are one JG Sky High, which is located at the top of the Four Seasons. That's actually Philadelphia's tallest building. And even if you don't want to eat there, just taking the elevator up and looking at the skyline, it's an incredible view. And then there's also, I believe it's called Attico, which is on top of the Logan, and that also has a great view of Logan Circle. So I've always enjoyed finding a good rooftop in the summer, warm weather, and being able to look at the beautiful view of Philadelphia. So highly recommend.
Great. Great recommendations. All right. You ready for our last five lightning questions here?
Let's go.
All right. These are the same five we're going to ask every attorney. Number one, what makes you a good subrogation attorney?
Oh, everything. No, I'm just kidding. I would say being able to keep the big picture in mind, look for the strong cases that are going to help our clients recover and, not getting too bogged down in the details as we are either working a case or trying to navigate some super complex issues.
Great. Number two, do you have an ideal location for a site inspection?
Oh, I've never been to Hawaii. That's on my list. Uh,
I think you will. Mhm.
but honestly, I would say anything by the water near the ocean. That's my ideal spot.
Cool. Number three, if you weren't a subrogation attorney, what would you be doing?
When I was younger, I would have said that I always wanted to be an actress, but realistically, I'd probably say a teacher or maybe an interior designer.
You could teach acting, I guess, right?
That's true.
All right. Number four, give us a recommendation, a book, TV show, movie, music, anything you think people would like.
All right. I would say these aren't necessarily new recommendations, but they are classics and they're some of my favorite. If you haven't watched The Office or Parks and Recreation, highly, highly recommend. When Parks and Recreation first came out, I was a little hesitant because I thought it was a copycat of The Office, but I ended up watching it and absolutely loved it. So, highly recommend both shows if you need just like a happy short show to watch.
Second that. All right. Last question. What is one thing about you people would be surprised to know?
Maybe not surprised, but I would say I'm a big family person. I was trying to do the math earlier. I think I have almost 25 first cousins, all that pretty much live within the area. And both my grandmothers are still living. One's 95, the other's 85. And I try to spend a lot of time with them on the weekends. So that's kind of maybe my fun fact. Not very exciting, but
No, that's fantastic. I have a grandmother who is now 101. So
well, you just outdid me right there. That's
I know. I'm
awesome.
sorry. I had to say it though. I had to. Well, thank you for joining us. I'm sure everyone, got a little bit more to know about you, and I'm sure you have a bright future with us, and I appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks, Leon. So good to be with you.
And thank you for listening to this episode of Subro Sessions. You can find past episodes of the podcast on the White and Williams homepage, whiteandwilliams.com. Hover over the Insights link and select podcasts to find past episodes.
We would like to remind everyone that the contents of this podcast are intended for general informational purposes only, and you are urged to consult a lawyer concerning your own situation with respect to any specific legal question you may have. The podcast should not be construed as legal advice for a particular situation or to give a legal opinion on any specific facts or circumstances. Prior results do not guarantee a similar outcome.